Hey and welcome back to the channel. This is Mark from Soundmasters. Today I'm going to review the Fosi Audio Box X5 Phono Preamp. It's relatively new to the market. It feels really well built on first impression. It can handle both moving magnet and moving coil phono cartridges, and it only costs $140. It promises to deliver very good quality sound at an affordable price, but can it deliver on this promise, or does it fall short in the very competitive market of affordable phono preamps? Let's find out. So my first impression of Fosi Audio products came from reviewing their Box X2 tube-based phono preamp, which really impressed me for the price. It was just $70 and it delivers a very lively and dynamic sound. I could happily recommend it to somebody who was looking for an incredibly affordable upgrade from the integrated phono preamp in either their turntable or their receiver. Since then, it appears that Fosi Audio has set out on some kind of product roadmap clearly aiming to corner the affordable hi-fi market. The new Box X5 Phono Preamp joins a plethora of smart, compact boxes promising high performance without breaking the bank. Straight away, the Fosi Audio Box X5 feels sturdier than you might expect for the price. The brushed aluminium chassis is compact and understated. It's a noticeable step up in aesthetics compared to the Box X2. It looks and feels much higher end than the price might suggest. The front panel is beautifully minimalistic, featuring just a copper-coloured power button and an LED power indicator, aside from, of course, the Fosi branding. The rear panel offers gold-plated RCA inputs and outputs alongside the usual grounding terminal. It's a little bit odd that the grounding terminal is on the side of the outputs, but this must be to do with how the circuit is laid out, I would imagine. There's also a small toggle for adjusting between moving magnet and moving coil operation, alongside a dial for setting the 4 different gain levels, either 38, 48, 56 or 66 dB. So all in all, it's a really simple and elegant box. The first impressions are good. I like the design, it's very compact, it's very simple, and I like that about it, but it doesn't have the same amount of control as you would get with something like the Mani 2. You can't play around with the loading settings in quite the same way. So when you're operating moving coil mode with the Box X5, you are fixed at 100 ohms. You can only really adjust the gain setting. That aside, I would hazard a guess that the vast majority of people in the market for a phono stage of this sort of price are probably going to be operating a moving magnet cartridge anyway. Fosi Audio are very transparent on their website about the components chosen for the X5 and are quick to highlight a few critical audio performance specifications. They quote a total harmonic distortion of just less than 0.009%, which, if true, is vanishingly low. For those who don't know, total harmonic distortion is how much distortion the preamp adds to the audio signal. I mean, that's a really simplified explanation, but at the end of the day, the less harmonic distortion, the better. Another impressive stat is the signal to noise ratio, otherwise known as SNR, which simply means the strength of the audio signal to the level of background noise, like hiss or hum. Fosi quote an SNR of 92 dB or higher, which, again, if it translates into the real world, seems a solid stat for this price. The Box X5 also claims to stick very well to the RIAA equalization curve, claiming to adhere from 20 Hz to 20 kHz, the full range of human hearing of course, with an insignificant deviation of just give or take 0.015 dB. Specs, however, can be misleading, particularly on manufacturers' websites, and while I don't have the equipment in-house to physically measure these specs myself, the folks over at audiosciencereviews.com did actually do this as a third party, and from their findings, the specs do come out quite favourably against the hype. For those who like to dig into the data, I'll put a link in the description of this video so you can check it out in your own time. Another really big selling point of a lot of Fosi audio gear, including this one, is the DIY upgradability. So they give you the option to be able to upgrade the op amps within this phono preamp. That gives you some sort of control over the sound quality and sonic signature of the device. What is a op amp, you might ask? Well, manufacturers do have this habit of throwing out a lot of kind of, specifications and terms and component names and things like that without actually having any sort of consideration of the fact that a lot of people coming into it might not know what any of this stuff actually means. So here's the layman's Explanation. In a nutshell, an op-amp, short for operational circuit, is a small electronic component responsible for boosting the tiny signal from your phono cartridge. In other words, it's an integrated circuit that can amplify weak electronic signals. The ability to change or upgrade op-amps gives you some DIY control over the sonic signature and sound quality according to your preference. It's a nice option to have for those who like to tweak, like to experiment, or just like to squeeze the most amount of sonic gains out of affordable gear. For the listening tests, I compared the Box X5 to a couple of similarly priced alternatives in my inventory. I chose the JDS Labs Atom Phono, $149, and the Mani 2, also $149. The records I span were The Meters' Rejuvenation, Stevie Wonder's Talking Book, and the Arctic Monkeys' AM, to name just a few. The Box X5 holds its own against both alternatives extremely well, pairing very nicely with my Audiophile 2M Blue cartridge. It delivers a well-balanced and dynamic listening experience that is definitely miles above the average built-in phono stage. Spinning the meters, the sound is clean and detailed, producing a tight and groovy bass line that drove the track without overwhelming the mix. In the past, I found that the Mani 2 is just a little bit woolly in the low end when paired with this particular cartridge, but with the Box X5 I hear none of these issues. Moving on to the Stevie Wonder record, and I couldn't help but go straight for the absolute classic track, Superstition. The Box X5 showcased the iconic clavinet riff with sharp, crisp precision. Each note had this satisfying attack about it, making the groove impossible to resist. And as I was hoping, the bass was punchy and full, locking in perfectly with the drum line, while the cymbals and hi-hats had a sparkling clarity that never became harsh. Arguably, the Atom Phono perhaps had a tad more warmth in the low end, but where the Box X5 excelled was in the mid-range musicality and the top-end clarity. The differences, though, are actually quite subtle. Digging out the Arctic Monkeys album, the track Are You Mine put the Box X5 to the test with its dense modern production, and the results were impressive. The Audiophile 2M Blue rendered the bass line with power and definition, giving the track its swaggering groove. The crunch of the overdriven guitars was well articulated, with a satisfying bite that didn't become muddy. Alex Turner's vocals remained clear and distinct, cutting through the wall of sound with ease. Even during the track's heaviest moments, the Box X5 maintained composure, keeping the instruments well separated and ensuring every detail was audible. But what about moving coil performance? And though I can't see the vast majority of Box X5 customers utilising the moving coil capability, I did give it a test using my Audiophile Quintet Red. The signal to noise ratio performance wasn't quite as impressive as it was with a moving magnet cartridge, but it was by no means bad. Keeping signal to noise ratio low when dealing with the exceptionally tiny signal levels of moving coil cartridges is a huge challenge, that much is for sure. I simply wouldn't expect a phono stage at this price point to perform better than, say, a dedicated moving coil phono stage like the Michael Fiddler MC Pro, for example, which I've also reviewed on this channel. All in all though, it's a respectable performance both from a noise and musicality standpoint, and it's really nice to have the upgrade path for those who want to keep their options open. So folks, it's decision time. Should you buy the Box X5 Phono Preamp? Well, personally speaking, based on what I've seen, I can highly recommend the Box X5 to anyone seeking their first phono stage upgrade. It delivers a clean, accurate and articulate sound that doesn't introduce any significant noise or distortion to the signal. The quality is so impressive really for the price that it does wonder how they actually managed to turn a profit. I mean, I can only really put this down to Far East manufacturing and having a direct-to-consumer business model. One feature I really would have liked to have seen on the Box X5 is a subsonic filter for any low-frequency rumble or low-frequency sort of interference issue problems. But I suppose, at this budget, this price point, something kind of has to give. Now, the moving coil upgrade path, don't get me wrong, is a nice thing to have, but I can't help but think, personally, that by the time somebody's considering a moving coil cartridge, they may well have outgrown the Fosi Audio Box X5 by this point, and perhaps the production cost might have been better being put into something like a subsonic filter instead. Just my 2 cents. Along with their V3 integrated stereo amplifier and the new V3 mono blocks, which is going to be my next review, by the way, stay tuned for that coming to the channel very soon, Fosi Audio appear to have really cornered the affordable hi-fi market in some of these areas. It's really impressive. For many people, the Box X5 may be the only phono stage they ever end up needing. For other people, it may be part of a sonic journey and the start of some DIY experimentation and spirit. One thing's for certain though, it's an incredible start, and I really just can't complain with the quality on offer at such an affordable price. And while the signal to noise ratio performance is incredibly impressive in this box, could you do better? Of course you could. You know, if you spend about double the cost or more than double the cost, something like the Spartan 15 that I've reviewed before on this channel, for example, that performs, I think, better than this in terms of the underlying hiss that you get in the background compared to the output signal. But at this price point, it is negligible, really, in the grand scheme of things. It performs very well compared to its contemporaries. And really, which one is right for you definitely depends on the kind of features you want and your kind of priorities that you're looking for. If you do decide that this is the phono stage for you, check out the description of this video where there's my affiliate link and a discount code to buy directly through the Fosi Audio website. I also have a whole bunch of other discount codes for the usual brands I include in each and every video. Again, I get a small commission, but there is no extra cost to you. There's also a link to my Patreon page where there's bonus content for those of you who'd like to support me over there and get something in return in the process. If you're new to this channel, please do consider subscribing. I would love to have you on board my audio journey with you guys. But until that next video, guys, keep on spinning, keep enjoying the music. That's what it's all about. And I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.